All right, we're going to talk about this. So you can pause the video and read this and then skip ahead, or I can read it to you. This is a post from r/sex, made relatively recently. So the title says, I have only had sex with my long-term girlfriend, both 23. Poster says, hi, sorry if the flair isn't the most important. Basically what the title says. I've been with my current girlfriend since we were 17, and she's been my first everything. Our sex life is amazing, and we have a solid relationship too. But then I see my friends sleeping around, and I wonder if I'm missing out on that lifestyle. Should I consider opening up the relationship? If anyone here has been in a similar situation, how did you work through it? I am not open to breaking her trust in any case. All right, that's the original post. Think about your response to that for a minute, your gut reaction, okay? Now I'm going to show you how I found this post, which was through social media, okay? I'm going to show you 2 replies to this post, and I want you to think about whether you agree or disagree with the replies to the post. All right, ready? Here's your first reply. It says, this is giving me a panic attack. How could you be so stupid? That's your first reply. Second one is, I've stumbled on a gold mine, but all those guys with pyrite look like they're having fun. So, what's your gut response? Do you agree with or disagree with these 2 responses? These 2 replies. You're like, yes, that's it. That's the position. That's the correct one here. Let's go back to this post and let's think about this. OP here, and I'm just going to use masculine pronouns. I'm going to assume this is a man, okay? OP, the original poster, why do we think he made this post? Why did he go on Reddit and pose this question to Reddit of all places? The cesspool that is Reddit. Why did this man feel the need to go online to ask this kind of question? Let's unpack a little of what's in here, because I think a lot of people are missing the point, including these 2 replies. So if you found that you agreed with either of those 2 replies, I'm going to try to explain why I think you're wrong. Now, I'm not saying OP is right or wrong. Could be either. But if you agreed, especially strongly, with either of those 2 replies, I'm going to tell you why I think you're in the wrong. This guy, again, I'm going to use masculine pronouns here. This guy is in a tough spot. He recognizes what he's got. We have a good relationship. I don't want to break her trust. I don't want to hurt her feelings. That is all here in this post. At the same time, he is seeing his friends making different choices than him. And he's probably seeing those friends get rewarded for those different choices that they're making. Either they're projecting that everything is great and they're having a good time and they're having fun, or they're lying about it. But either way, if their behavior was projecting misery or angst or discomfort or pain, this guy wouldn't have needed to ask this question. It would have been really obvious. Well, they're all making those decisions, and those decisions are not paying off. They're not rewarding them. So why would I even consider making that decision? But that is more than likely not what he is witnessing. He is witnessing his friends making different decisions to him and being rewarded for it. So he has curiosity and he has doubts. He has conflicting feelings. If he didn't have conflicting feelings, he wouldn't feel the need to ask a question for clarification. If he knew which side of the aisle he wanted to be on, if he knew which decision was the right one to make, he wouldn't need to ask a question. So the fact that he has asked a question means that he's conflicted. He sees pros and cons to both options. Should I keep my relationship exactly as it is? Should I broach opening the relationship with my partner? But notice that last line. He does not want to break her trust. He mentions explicitly in the first paragraph that they have a good relationship. He does not want to fuck this up. And so everybody online, including the people who make these kind of replies, it's so obvious to them, well, you're in a good relationship. You say it's good. So assuming you're not lying, what's the hang up? What's the hold up? Why is this even a question? Why are you asking? Notice what this guy mentioned. He didn't say, I see people online who are sleeping around. I see people on Tinder who are sleeping around. I see people on social media who are sleeping around. He said, my friends are sleeping around. And obviously, like we mentioned, they are probably, at least from his perspective, appear to be getting rewarded for that behavior. So between his curiosity and his doubts, he has to ask, is this an option that I should consider exploring? I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to screw this up. But also, he is concerned that he is going to desync with his friends. His friends are making fundamentally different lifestyle choices than he is. All of them are. He said friends, plural, not my one best friend is doing this. All of his friends, plural, are behaving this way. They're all getting rewarded for it. And so they're all synchronizing with and meshing with each other. They are bonding with each other over that shared lifestyle decision. And whether or not you personally agree with that lifestyle is neither here nor there. We're talking about this guy's perspective. He sees all of his other friends making fundamentally different lifestyle choices to him, being rewarded for it, and bonding with each other over that shared behavioral pattern that he does not have. What this does, what this manifests to you internally as a person, you have to ask, is me not behaving that way? Is me choosing to abstain from that behavioral pattern? Is that going to desynchronize me with my friends? Am I going to distance myself from my friend group because I am choosing not to behave in one of the ways that they behave, bond over, and get rewarded over? Am I going to be that stick in the mud who's not fun to hang out with and gets shoved out of the group? This is a very real and very potent fear for a lot of men. Men have difficulty bonding with other men. They have difficulty making and maintaining friendships. The thought that he could lose his friends is terrifying. And many of you, and many people, many replies and responses to this post were missing the point. They said, well, if that's who your friends are, and If that's the kind of stuff your friends will get upset over, then they're shit friends. You need to get rid of them. You need to get some new friends. Cool. That possibility, that option that most people take for granted, just go make new friends. That's not something a lot of men have the ability to, or do not feel confident that they can do that. Making friendships for men is very difficult. So losing friends and the possibility that you could wind up in a situation where you have fewer or no friends, that is a terrifying place to be. That is what's causing the hang-up. That's what's causing the confusion. That's what's causing this split that makes this guy need to ask a question. He doesn't want to hurt his partner. He doesn't want to ruin his relationship with his partner. The other side of that coin, at least from his perspective, is the risk that he will lose his friends and not be able to make any more. Regardless of how realistic that outcome is, regardless of how probable that outcome is, that fear is very real. Now, what I see a lot of is people replying to this, quote tweeting this, subtweeting this, sharing this, along the lines of these two replies. Basically boiling down to, why is this a question? Why are we even asking this question? The fact that you have to ask this question means clearly that you don't know what you got. The fact that you have to ask this question means your character is put into question. The fact that you have to ask this question at all means you're a piece of shit. And that is wrong. It's incorrect. This man stopped, thought, and sought out guidance. He did not just act. He did not make an impulsive decision. He did not act against other people's feelings and consideration. He stopped to think and ask the question. That behavior, no matter how stupid you think the question is, the fact that he stopped and asked the question, that behavior should be commended. That behavior should be rewarded, because the alternative to stopping and thinking and asking the question is being impulsive, is just acting, is not considering the feelings of his partner. The impulsive people, the selfish people who do not stop, who do not think, who do not concern themselves with the feeling of others and the consequences of the actions that they are about to take, those people are the people we should be criticizing. We should not be criticizing and demonizing and ridiculing men's feelings, anyone's feelings really, but men particularly. We should not be criticizing, ridiculing, and demonizing their feelings. Because when a man is conflicted and he asks about his feelings and he asks a question, he's looking for guidance. And the only signal he gets back is, shut the fuck up, you're fucking stupid, why the hell are you asking this question? The fact that you are conflicted in this situation means that you're a bad person. When a man reaches out to ask a question about his feelings because he is conflicted and the only signal he receives tells him to stop doing that, or ridicules him, gives him negative feedback for going through this process, the stop, think, and ask a question, seek guidance, look for another perspective, look for more information before you act. By making replies like this, you are disincentivizing that good behavioral pattern in favor of the bad behavioral pattern, which is be impulsive, don't ask questions, don't think, and don't consider anyone else's feelings. You dunking on this guy, you assuming that the fact that he has to ask this question means automatically that he is the undesirable person of bad character, you making these kinds of replies, these assumptions, is going to push him in that direction. These kinds of replies are how you make the kinds of people you assume that this guy is. This is how you make them. This is where they come from. Every time they're conflicted, every time they have a doubt, every time they're scared, every time they have a feeling, and they ask a question for guidance, everybody in the world tells them, shut the hell up and stop asking. That is wrong. It doesn't matter how stupid you think the question is. The fact that he asked it at all is a good thing. We should not be demonizing and ridiculing and criticizing men's feelings. You can criticize their actions all day long, all you want. But OP is not there yet. He's not there yet. He has not acted. He has not made a decision. He has asked a question. He has stopped to think. And he is being told not to do that. Do we understand how fundamentally backwards this is? Do we understand how harmful this is, not just to this individual, but to society and to culture? This pattern of dunking on somebody who is asking a question, who is conflicted, who is afraid, this pattern of behavior is harmful. This creates the kind of people that you do not want in the world. You are making the problem worse, not better. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people are considering, I saw this a lot in the replies. Stop talking. Shut the hell up. Why are you asking this question? You need to suppress these feelings? Or, God forbid, you need to hide these feelings from your partner. Do not tell her that you had these thoughts. Don't tell her. Keep it a secret. Shut the hell up about it. Don't speak. Now, does that advice potentially come from a good place? Maybe. Feelings and thoughts can be hurtful. They can be harmful. Why are you thinking about other women? Why are you thinking about cheating on me? Okay? Are thoughts and feelings potentially hurtful, harmful to a relationship? Yes. You know what's more harmful and hurtful to a relationship? Not sharing your feelings with your partner, not telling them things, keeping fucking secrets from them, going around and acting behind their back. Actions are the things that really are the no hope, the deal breaker for a lot of people. Yes, he thinks about other women. He fantasizes about other women. but he's never cheated on me. You know? When people actually get off of the feelings and the thoughts and move into action, actions are what destroy way, way more relationships. If you cannot trust your partner to listen to hold, and to process your feelings, you're in a bad relationship. So here's something that a lot of people missed. Did this guy talk to his partner about these thoughts, about these conflicted feelings? Did he talk to his partner? No. And many of you are probably right now thinking, why the heck would he do that? Don't do that. That's the last thing he should do. Don't talk to your partner about your feelings. Oh, why can't men talk about how they feel? Because this is what happens when men talk about how they feel. You need to share your feelings with your partner. If you can't, you need to find a better partner. The fact that this man did not talk about these feelings with his partner, he didn't. If he had been able to talk about his feelings with his partner, he would have had that conversation with her, and we wouldn't have this post. If this man had been able to talk about his feelings with his friends, we would not have this post. This man doesn't know what to do with his feelings. He's confused, he is scared. And his only lifeline, the only people he can talk to about his feelings is fucking Reddit. This is the only place he felt safe to ask this question, to talk about his feelings. And this is the kind of fucking response he gets. Do we understand how horrifying that is? How damaging that is? What a horrible state to be in, where you can't talk to your partner about your feelings. You can't talk to your friends about your feelings. You can't talk to anyone about your feelings and resolve them. You have to throw a lifeline out to strangers on Reddit. The fact that he has to ask this question is not the problem. The fact that he has to ask this question on Reddit, on the internet, that's the problem. He does not feel safe talking about this with his partner. He does not feel safe talking about this with his friends or family. If he did, we would not have this post. This is a problem, and this makes it worse. You want to know why the male suicide rate is so fucking high? This is why. Shit like this is why. Culture is why. This is why the male suicide rate is so high. This is why men don't share their feelings. Because when they do, this is what happens. You should feel safe. You should be able to talk about your feelings with your friends, family, and partner without fear that having this doubt, this confusion, this conflicted notion in your mind is not going to get you automatically labeled as having already committed one of the two actions that you haven't taken yet, that you're considering, that you realize that there are consequences for, and that you have considered how those actions would affect other people in your life. You have taken the time to stop and realize you're at an impasse because you don't want to hurt your friends or your partner. So you don't know what to do. But you can't ask that question. You can't talk about these feelings. You can't express those doubts because you get labeled a monster for having human emotions. Doubt, uncertainty, fear. These are normal human things that men are not allowed to feel. You have to be confident. You have to be certain. You have to be morally righteous. You have to be strong. You have to be independent. That is how you describe a superhero. A non-human entity with powers and ability beyond that of a normal human. This is not how you describe a human being. So when the culture projects this is the model that you should demonstrate, when you are unable to demonstrate this model because it's impossible, you question your own sanity. You question your right to exist as a human being. That line of thinking and inquiry is what leads to suicide. Learn to spot calls for help like this. Learn to separate the fact that he asked a stupid question from the fact that he asked a question at all. Learn to recognize that this man is doing exactly what he should be doing to the best of his ability with the tools that he has at his disposal. He is doing his best. And he needs help. And this is not helping.